Right. Just for the viewers, I would like to just give some update now. There is a joint statement from the IDF spokesperson and the Shin Bet spokesperson. They say that they're currently on their way to the initial reception point in southern Israel, where they will reunite with their families. Of course, it looks all positive. Then we have reactions coming in. The first one has come from French president, who said that peace possible for Israel-Gaza. So looking at that, these Western nations such as France, UK, I'm wondering what kind of role will they be playing when it comes to international support or forces in Gaza for this first phase, and not just in the governing and also the rebuilding of Gaza, as you had mentioned earlier.
So there has been traditionally a European role, including a UK role, in training Palestinian police forces. And I don't think that the UK is likely to be sending military forces, but I think it will be interested in trying to train a Palestinian Authority police force to help to restore security in Gaza. However, one of the problems is that the UK, France, etc., they are really seen by Palestinians as complicit in the war. So European countries will have to be quite careful that they're not seen as a new kind of occupying power, especially with reports that Tony Blair may well have a significant role in post. People in the region do obviously associate him with the invasion of Iraq. So really they need to think about ways to empower leaders among the Palestinians who really have the support and buy-in of their own communities, because we know from so many places around the world, you need that local buy-in if peace is going to stick.
Absolutely, and considering that, of course, this is all Trump's 20-point peace plan, where he had mentioned Tony Blair. Of course, Trump will be receiving a hero's welcome. What about Netanyahu? How is he being looked at? How do you analyze? Because we know that, as of now, according to Times Israel, he is there at Ben Gurion Airport to welcome Trump. Now, Netanyahu, earlier we knew that when Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff were there in the hostage square, we heard cheers for Trump and boos for Netanyahu. How does the situation look for Netanyahu? It seems like, yes, it has been a win where he has agreed. It is, even though it's late, he still got some hostages back home. How does it look for Netanyahu going forward?
So it's not at all clear that he will get the credit for this. Now, when the October 7th massacres happened, there was a lot of criticism of Netanyahu inside Israel, because people asked, why wasn't this foreseen? There were some intelligence warnings that weren't picked up on. What is going on? And there are still people in Israel saying that there should be a commission of inquiry into the intelligence, military and political failures that meant that this attack wasn't properly foreseen and prevented. Now, over the last couple of years, Netanyahu's popularity has gone really up and down, because there have been times, notably when Israel assassinated Hezbollah leaders and when Israel has hit some Iranian targets, there have been times that Netanyahu has really come up in the polls and has looked popular. And he is a political survivor. He's been written off many times and come back. But this may be the end of the road for him. He has closely associated himself with far-right religious coalition partners who really do not enjoy the support of the vast majority of Israelis. And people have felt not represented by this government, although it is an elected government, because it has been beholden to these very right-wing religious parties. So it may well be the case that once the war stops, we all know wars can bring societies together, people will be pushing Netanyahu out of power. So it will be an interesting time ahead for Israeli politics. They need to have elections in 2026.
Absolutely. Of course, I'll be right back with you, Jane. Of course, we were getting live visuals where we see Donald Trump, U.S. President Donald Trump, who has now arrived. These are the visuals that we're getting, and that's the Air Force One that has landed now at Ben Gurion. And we know that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu will be there to receive definitely a hero's welcome, one who has proposed a 20-point peace plan, phase one, which is now ongoing. Or that there you see is the American Air Force One carrying Donald Trump, and that you see are the welcoming that is going to be taking place as Donald Trump lands in the region. These are the live visuals from Ben Gurion Airport in Israel. Now, we know earlier while traveling on board Air Force One, speaking to reporters, it was Donald Trump who said that this is a very special visit. And Trump had earlier also dismissed doubts about the ceasefire holding. Now, along with Trump, of course, are key U.S. officials that are traveling with him, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and CIA Chief John Ratcliffe. And this is the Air Force One on board which Donald Trump has reached Ben Gurion Airport. Now, these are the latest developments coming in. U.S. President Donald Trump has arrived in Israel at the Ben Gurion Airport, along with his key officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. These are the visuals of Netanyahu. They're ready to welcome U.S. President Donald Trump. Jane, I would like to just come to you now. We can see, definitely, as you mentioned before, a red carpet welcome of Donald Trump right there.
Yes, that's right. And again, it's part of Benjamin Netanyahu's desire to show this as a great victory in which he wants to share, even though there may be more discomfort behind the scenes. But certainly, after 2 years of really horrific scenes from Gaza and 2 years of Israeli families being in agony, I think this is a day that most of the world welcomes, and most of the world can set aside some of their doubts about where all this is heading to just have this moment of relief and respite. Of course, in Europe, people will be hoping that Donald Trump will feel validated as a peacemaker, and that might also encourage him to return his attention to Ukraine. Earlier this year, of course, he had hoped that by rolling out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin, he could also see a breakthrough in that war. So Europeans will be saying to him, this is great, don't forget about us too.
Right, absolutely. It's great that you mentioned that as well. But Jane, of course, we'll be looking forward to how this whole turns out. But thank you so much for joining us on the show and giving your perspective as well as UK's and analyzing the whole situation for us.